Yeah, but for Alex, I mean, maybe there is a little bit more information that Alex has actually gained from watching Leonard play on stream, not just in day 1, but also in day 2. And as we take a look back on this team, there's just a couple more things to call out here. You've got that setup on the Nasty Plot from the Golden Go. I think even just the scale shots on the Dragonite have given a lot of people problems, but bulk up on the Annihilate. There's just so many different combinations of Pokemon that you can put together. And to your point from earlier, you never really know what to expect out of these 6 that are on the team.
Right, it can be very dangerous to lead into the wrong thing. If you're prepared for one pairing, but suddenly find yourself against another that you're not as prepared for, you can fall behind quickly if a Nasty Plot or a Bulk Up or a Tailwind is up before you're ready for it. And then to support all that, we have kind of the third type of Ursaluna. We saw the other 2 against each other in the last game, the Leftovers and the Life Orb, but here the Assault Vest, one that can kind of sponge a lot more damage without having to worry about ever being one-hit KO'd, and then has a little bit more coverage back, as with Hyper Voice for spread damage, Vacuum Wave for a little bit of priority. So all 3 Ursalunas making their appearance in the top 4.
It will be a little bit difficult for this Ursaluna, though. Taking a look at its terrestrialization, it is going to be a water type, and Alex has a Rillaboom that we've seen be able to do quite a bit. I mean, Wood Hammer, Grassy Glide, there's no way for you to defensively terrestrialize away from those super effective attacks, and Rillaboom's not a special attacker. That Assault Vest is not helping you.
Right, definitely poor into the Rillaboom, but I'm not sure Leonard's going to hate it if the Rillaboom is brought. It looks kind of poor into the rest of his Pokemon, right? Not going to really help you with Golden Go, not going to help you a lot with Annihilate. Dragonite doesn't mind seeing a Rillaboom on the other side, and so if you bring it just to deal with the Ursaluna, and the Ursaluna doesn't even come to the game, you can be in a problem. Those are like the challenges faced by having so many different options on Leonard's side.
But for Alex, it's a lot of the same Pokemon that we've come to expect in this meta, but with a couple of those new meta adjustments as we've returned to Regulation H. The Grassy Seed, Terra Flying Acrobatics on the Sneasler is one of those techs that comes to mind.
Yeah, it could be really helpful to break through Mouse Hold, maybe do a lot of damage to Annihilate as well. I think the Ninetales probably important here as well. The Icy Wind could be valuable speed control. If you're looking at either the Golden Go or the Annihilate as the main threats from Leonard's side, the Icy Wind can be really valuable speed control to get Golden Go up faster than them, so they can KO. Of course, that comes at a big risk. If you ever Icy Wind and Annihilate, you've got to be sure that you're finishing the KO on that turn, but it's a way to get your speed drops onto the other side and even past Follow Me if Mouse Hold's on the field.
I mean, we've definitely seen Leonard be able to take a Defiant boost and turn it into a victory, so that is something that will have to be kept in mind as they both navigate this game. How can they really capitalize on those small differences of these teams to actually put a win together? And that's going to be tough. There's so many different combinations, not just on Leonard's side, but I think for Alex as well, a lot of these Pokemon look really good in this match.
Right, yeah, it feels like you can do a lot of damage a lot of different ways, but there is also potential to run into places where you can't do enough damage. We've seen it happen, with where are you going to get the damage against a Golden Go, for example. If you end up with Ninetales and Rillaboom and Sneasler left, suddenly that can look kind of difficult, and so you have to be ready for whatever Pokemon is at the end. You got to question yourself, okay, if it is Annihilate on the other side and I lose, this Pokemon that I'm leading, am I going to actually be able to close the game against Annihilate at the end? You got to kind of second guess, double check all of your paths through this game when there are so many potential options on the other side. Like I say, I do think Ninetales probably pretty impactful here. The other reason is that it helps with Dragonite if that's ever led. You can Icy Wind to get a speed drop and break multi-scale at the same time. The other risk there, though, is that if you ever Icy Winding and Annihilate's not on the field, well, it might be on the field before you know it. So a risk there as well.
Yeah, you could just switch it in to take the Icy Wind, and then all of a sudden, I've got this Defiant boost. But we have seen players be okay giving that over if they know that they have the other speed in their favor. If it's the ally that is going to be faster than this Annihilate with that speed drop, then it doesn't really matter if you give over the Defiant boost because you're just going to knock it out before it moves.
Right, so then you have to be thinking about what the damage is into Annihilate. As a Ghost and Fighting type, it's pretty easy to access for Alex's team. The Sneasler and the Golden Go would both love to target it down. So that means maybe the Fire Terrestrialization is a high priority for Leonard to make sure he's preserved if Annihilate's a big part of the game plan, but that just switches the vulnerabilities to other things like Earth Power from Ursaluna. But that's all to guess one of Leonard's multiple game plans. The terrestrialization could be prioritized on Golden Go if that's the main focus. And so this is the part that makes it so hard for Alex. You've got to figure out what Leonard is thinking. At the same time, Leonard is figuring out what he's thinking.
And even if you have a certain game plan heading into the start of this game, that could change. It's a very flexible game, and as we see from the leads, you might have to think about different approaches.
Well, we do see Ninetales immediately on the field, threatening Icy Wind to slow down Golden Go on the other side, probably putting it slower than the Ursaluna, but could threaten big damage. But before any of that happens, Mousehold can redirect away a potential Earth Power and can threaten a bunch of damage with Super Fang plus Make It Rain possibly being enough to take a KO on Ursaluna. So a little bit of things for both sides to be weary of. And then, yeah, it's Golden Go, the first offensive piece we see, not Annihilate, and so that may be the focus for this game. But just as quickly as it's shown, it's off the field. Can't afford to end up slow, can't afford to take an Earth Power, and so instead, well, it's Annihilate, but it's not an Icy Wind.
We would hope not, but this Mousehold does help to get this Annihilate in a little bit safer. Frengard is still going to be active, and especially with the Protect, but Icy Wind comes out from this Ninetales. It is going to hit into the Annihilate, giving over a Defiant boost, and that's just going to be a raw +2. There's no Incineroar here to drop that speed, or drop that attack first. Oh, but the Blood Moon! Nice call here from Alex to make sure that you're getting damage down into this Annihilate, but look at how safe it's kept. Frengard, really nice to make sure that this Annihilate is fairly healthy, and then the Citrus Berry to recover quite a bit of that damage.
Right, so it might not be enough damage. You might be hoping that you're recovering that, because if Icy Wind landed, then Blood Moon lands, and then the next turn Hyper Voice lands before the Hyper Voice and Blizzard land before the Annihilate can attack. But if that Hyper Voice and Blizzard isn't a KO onto Annihilate, well, then it's just going to Drain Punch the Ursaluna, probably take a KO, and take a full heal off of the Ursaluna. So a very volatile moment. Ursaluna can't afford to let that Drain Punch happen, so it's going to go off into the back. Golden Go going to come in comfortably immune to Drain Punch.
Yeah, but then you have to worry a little bit later about the fact that you attacked this Annihilate twice. That Rage Fist has been boosted twice. Ninetales can still deliver a pretty devastating Blizzard, but with the Drain Punch failing into the Golden Go, it's a little bit more damage that the Ninetales is going to be able to do later.
Well, but this is what we talked about, where it doesn't matter how strong Annihilate is if you're now threatening a KO. Make It Rain and Blizzard is probably a KO, maybe not if the Fire Terastallization happens, but Annihilate's so low now that the Fire Terastallization might not save it. And so if Make It Rain plus a Blizzard is a KO, then the Mousehold also threatened by that combination, and Leonard is very much on the back foot here, doesn't have an easy way path back. Golden Go can come in, take a bunch of damage to resist those things. You can try to find another path through that way, but with the Golden Go coming in to take that Drain Punch, it looks like Alex has kind of swung the momentum back into his favor.
Yeah, but Leonard locked this in pretty quickly, so maybe he is confident that his Annihilate will survive this, as it does have this Terrifier. It will help to resist some of these attacks a little bit better. We saw how comfortably it felt like it took that Blood Moon from that Ursaluna, but we know that it was a leftover set. It didn't have any extra boosted damage to it. Mousehold's going to go for the Follow Me, but it doesn't redirect away the Blizzard, so he actually chips it a little bit more, but the Mousehold gets frozen. Oh no.
That won't matter. There'll be a
I know,
it's a Shadow Ball. It's not a Make It Rain. It's a Shadow Ball to follow me into the immunity.
Wow, and so that's gonna leave this Annihilate free and clear to get the Drain Punch off into those Ninetales, and it's actually going to heal up a bit there. It's gonna be a tough roll here, I think, for Alex to actually get the knockout onto this Annihilate now.
Yeah, this is really interesting because the Annihilate is now healthier than it was on the previous turn, but now you know that Follow Me is probably not a threat unless you immediately thaw out of this freeze, which can enable Blizzard plus Shadow Ball into the Annihilate. What was the goal in the last turn is now more of a reality on this turn, especially because Blizzard will first KO Mousehold, take away Frengard, so Shadow Ball will land without Frengard. Should easily be enough damage, but you'd be risking that there's just a thaw and a Follow Me again, so a very dangerous position. But for now, kind of both players didn't get quite what they wanted out of that last turn. The freeze means that things are still open, so yeah, Annihilate just going to protect itself, can't afford to risk on this turn.
Yeah, and hope that maybe the Mousehold is going to get a chance to unthaw, or Alex takes the KO and then Leonard safely gets something else in its place. For now, though, it is just going to be the Annihilate staying safe as the Mousehold eventually gets knocked out. Ninetales getting a lot of damage down over the course of these first couple of turns, and Leonard has to bring something else in its place. Golden Go still very happy to just sit there and try to go for Shadow Ball here.
Yeah, Golden Go desperately wants to find the Shadow Ball into the Annihilate, take that KO before this monster Annihilate on the other side with 2 attack boosts and a bunch of stacks on Rage Fist gets a chance to attack. But for now, Golden Go back onto the field. Ninetales will be the first thing to move. It can Icy Wind to drop the Golden Go on the other side down for sure underneath Alex's Golden Go. But if you don't Icy Wind, then you have to worry that possibly Leonard's Golden Go is faster than your own. So something like a Blizzard could just mean that Leonard's Golden Go moves first and KOs your own, and things are way, way off the rails at that point. At the same time, if you Icy Wind, then you can only pick one of the two to Shadow Ball. Make It Rain's not going to KO either of them, and so if you just pick one to Shadow Ball and the other one takes a big KO into your Golden Go, things are similarly in a bad spot. So Leonard able to get the mouse hold off the field and find himself in a more aggressive position, and then is going to diffuse it a little bit, get the Dragonite onto the field instead of the Annihilate. Doesn't want to just take a Shadow Ball here.
Oh, but it's tough because is that actually going to be something that you can bring back later? A Ninetales does go for the Icy Wind here, gets the speed drop onto both this Dragonite as well as this Golden Go, but look at how much damage even the Dragonite just took from a piddly little Icy Wind. That's the Dragon type. All this Dragonite working against it, and the Shadow Ball into this Golden Go is going to get the knockout before Leonard even gets a chance to move.
Well, a match with twists and turns, but that's devastating for Leonard. Tries to get a little bit too clever, overthinks what Alex is going to do, and it's simply Icy Wind plus Shadow Ball into Golden Go to take that KO, and so you've given up the attack boosts on Annihilate, you've given up multi-scale and one stage of speed on Dragonite. Now, the advantage that you've gained is that Annihilate itself has lost that speed drop, meaning that it is faster than the Golden Go on the other side once again. But then it could just be Icy Winded again and be vulnerable to Shadow Ball. Icy Wind, we saw how much damage it did into Dragonite. I don't think one more Icy Wind will finish up that KO. It'll do twice what the last Icy Wind did, which doesn't look like it would finish it up. So it's not a locked up game position to just Icy Wind and Shadow Ball. You have to worry that Annihilate will protect itself, and then maybe Dragonite can go out with Scale Shot. But there's no real Scale Shot targets. Tailwind doesn't really feel like it's going to solve your problems. Your problems are mostly about the damage coming in from the other side.
I mean, Ninetales with another Icy Wind. That Dragonite actually almost gets knocked out to that second hit. But with these Icy Wind speed drops, this Golden Go is going to be very happy about this. Even though you're giving over the Defiant Boost over to the Annihilate, Golden Go could just go ahead and make it rain, and that will be enough to KO the Dragonite. But without that KO onto the Annihilate, is there anything that Leonard can actually get back with this Annihilate to actually bring himself back into this game? It's a 1v4. It's gonna be really difficult here for Leonard, but the first step is getting a KO, and that Rage Fist is good enough to at least knock out this Golden Go. But there's still that problem of the fourth and final Pokemon Alex is yet to reveal in this match, and if it's just a fake out, then Alex wins.
Alex wins regardless. The -1 speed onto Annihilate is what ties this up. The Annihilate now too slow. So yeah, you'd love to get a Drain Punch into Ursaline on the other side, but you've become slower than it. And then you have Encore into Rage Fist as well. A million ways to wrap it up. The problem with a single target Pokemon, doesn't matter how much offense you have, you're just too many enemies on the other side.
Well, at least Leonard gets to walk away with another KO here in this game onto the Ninetales before the Blood Moon or Saluna is going to be enough to pick it off. You still have the Earth Power, which is going to be just super effective damage, and that will be the first game going to Alex Arand as we look at who will be advancing through from our top 4. It's just that one game down. We've got potentially 2 more to go, but Alex taking the lead.
Wow, what a game of twists and turns. It was kind of what we expected, what we previewed before the match, that Ninetales would be impactful, that Icy Winds would be important, but the Icy Winds came with risks of activating Defiant. All of that happened, and it felt like it was going back and forth. Leonard gets the Defiant boost, but then can't quite find the damage. The Annihilate looks like it's always at risk, but never quite gets KO'd. But then this devastating turn where Dragonite switches in, loses its multi-scale, loses its speed, and Golden Go goes down at the same time. That just felt like it put Alex way too far ahead for Leonard to compete anymore.
It was just such a calculated risk there. And you could see why Leonard wanted to go for that. Maybe just hoping that you would be able to get this Annihilate in with a Tailwind behind it, try to dissipate some of these speed drops that you were taking from that Icy Wind on the Ninetales. But it's just so tough. I even think back to the turn where that mouse hold got frozen. And imagine if you had at least one more turn to even go for Follow Me there. I kind of wonder, does that mouse hold even have enough HP behind it where it can actually withstand another Icy Wind or something like that?
Well, no, it would have gone down to Blizzard, right? So you can't Follow Me on that turn because Blizzard will just KO the mouse hold. The Golden Go will move next, and Shadow Ball should be able to take that KO. So I'm not sure the freeze was like the most devastating thing in that moment. It did look for a second like getting the successful redirection of the Shadow Ball was going to be really impactful, but then because there was no KO into Golden Go, just a Drain Punch into Ninetales, it didn't quite heal back enough. It didn't turn the tide of the battle entirely.
It was always hard to click the Rage Fist there, though, because you knew Alex liked that Blood Moon or Saluna. That was always a threat, to come back in and just take the Rage Fist, neutralize that threat entirely. But I feel like, at the very least, the Pokemon were right for Alex. Now it's about Leonard trying to respond to that Ninetales being such a problem.
Yeah, the Ninetales was a big problem. I wonder if that means that Dragonite might get left behind. The we don't think we ever saw the 4th Pokemon from Alex, so we don't know if Rillaboom was brought. You know, if Leonard sees all 4, maybe he's reconsidering Ursaluna, but if you don't know that, you might have just had to fight against a Rillaboom at the end of the game. That's harder to do. For now, the same Pokemon from Alex and the same Pokemon from Leonard.
Yeah, so the Golden Go versus the Ursaluna, 2 of our best special attackers here in Regulation H, but maybe a bit of a switch up here in terms of what Leonard wants to go for.
Yeah, so in the first game, we saw Icy Wind come out and end up activating Defiant. That's going to mean that Leonard expects Alex is a little more weary of throwing out the same Icy Wind play again. And so if you're not worried that it's Icy Wind plus Earth Power, well, that opens things up. You don't have to follow me, you don't have to switch. You can just go out for damage. The Ursaluna, without the Assault Vest, like we mentioned, vulnerable to Super Fang plus Make It Rain to just pick up a KO. That would be devastating, right? Because it would also mean Make It Rain into Ninetales. But that's a risky play. We've seen players try to get more out of turn 1s and have it go terribly wrong. So far, the pressure diffused with a Protect on Ursaluna.
Yeah, the Super Fang then not going to hit its mark, but it would have been nice because this Ursaluna is very bulky. With the Icy Wind, though, from the Ninetales, it does get those critical speed drops onto both of these Pokemon while also breaking the Focus Sash on this Mousehold. But Golden Go still gets a chance to fire off this Make It Rain. But bringing this Ninetales down to its Focus Sash, can you actually finish it off before these Icy Wind speed drops start to stack up? And now, is this Bloodburn Ursaluna even faster than both of your Pokemon if you're Leonard?
Yeah, I'd expect that Ursaluna now is the first thing, will move before the Golden Go. At least Mousehold might move in between, but obviously can't threaten a KO into Ursaluna. Now, Follow Me is the problem. The Ursaluna can't land an Earth Power into Golden Go if Follow Me happens, but you can't be assuming that Follow Me will happen either because it can just be a Protect and a Switch, or a Protect and a Super Fang or Beat Up to finish off the Ninetales. So some twisty options here available for both players. The Icy Wind a big advantage, but traded for all of that health on Ninetales, and with the redirection, just still no instantly safe offense, but it's 1 goal down. If you can find Ninetales off the field in the second attacker, then maybe the speed drop is enough to really lock in an advantage.
It is kind of nice that Leonard has already gotten so much damage down on this Ninetales, because at least its longevity on the field has been neutered just a little bit. But Leonard is going to bring this Annihilate back in, so if there is another Icy Wind, it does actually miss a target here, and it is going to end up missing the Mousehold. So Annihilate, very happy to have switched in, get this Defiant boost, get this +2 attack, but with this Blood Moon Ursaluna still yet to move, it could still do some pretty devastating damage here. We saw this play out in game number 1, though. The Blood Moon going to bring this Annihilate down low enough that it's able to recover that health with the Citrus Berry, but Leonard still has to deal with this Ninetales.
Yeah, but man, what a bold play from Alex, right? If that had been the Golden Go staying in, it would have resisted that Blood Moon, would have taken it safely, and could have just fired off a Make It Rain that would have KO'd Ninetales and done a ton to Ursaluna, which would have taken the Super Fang first and been low. But it gets the call right, but still activates Defiant. Even getting the call right means that Defiant is activated, and there's still redirection available on this next turn.
But Ninetales can just go for Icy Wind again. Alex is not unhappy with giving over a second Defiant boost to this Annihilate if he knows that he has a surefire way to pick up this Annihilate. Since this Ursaluna is going to be faster, actually just target into this Mousehold, and unfortunately actually doesn't pick up the KO here, so Leonard gets away with a lot. The beat up to finish up the Ninetales after that little bit of HP it had left, and now this Annihilate gets a chance to go for this Drain Punch into the Ursaluna and recover so much HP that could have been really risky. He thought about the opportunity cost of going for something like the Rage Fist instead if he expected a switch, since Alex did do that in game number 1, but you got that Drain Punch into the correct target, already bringing Alex down to his final 2 Pokemon in the second game. Yeah,
a really strong turn from Leonard. Alex may be expecting the Golden Go might come into play, or Dragonite might come into play again and trying to find an Icy Wind landing, but instead just gives over 2 KOs. The Earth Power not quite enough damage on a Mousehold means that you don't just lose the Ursaluna, you don't just give a bunch of health back to Annihilate, you also give up your Ninetales. Now, Annihilate at -2 speed has to be a little bit worried about Golden Go on the other side, but Fire Terastallization can quickly solve that problem. So despite the fact that you're not moving first, you're still putting out, you're still safe on the field so that you can put out big damage. and then it's healed quite a bit because of the Drain Punch, like you mentioned, so it's pretty safe on the field. The Fire Terrestrialization helpful against both Rillaboom and Golden Go, and if you can keep Friend Guard around, it prevents something like Shadow Ball plus Wood Hammer for being a double-up option, because Friend Guard would be around through all of that, but no, just going to switch out at this moment. I think regardless, Annihilate's safe on the field to get its damage off this turn.
Even though it's going to terrestrialize itself away from a Ghost type, I don't think that Leonard actually would mind if you do get faked out from this Rillaboom either, because where would the KO come from? Once this terrestrialization has been invested, this Golden Go might not be able to pick it off with that Shadow Ball. So I do wonder how Alex ends up getting through this. It still looks super dicey, and it does actually go for the fake out here. So you do actually buy yourself a turn to get this Golden Go to weave in this nasty plot, and with the speed drops that this Annihilate has taken, Alex does have that speed sort of in his favor, but Dragonite's here. It could just Tailwind. Yeah,
this is a very 50-50 situation, because at -2 speed, Annihilate, even if it gets Tailwind, it'll still be faster than the Golden Go. So then you have to decide which Pokemon is protecting. If Annihilate protects itself and Dragonite gets a Tailwind up while you're worried about Annihilate, probably that's all of it. But at the same time, if Annihilate protects itself and you just put all the damage into the Dragonite, breaking multi-scale with Grassy Glide and Shadow Balling to KO the Dragonite, then Alex suddenly looks like there's a really real path to coming back in this game. So this could be a very volatile moment. Now, Annihilate still bulky. You're going to have to find a Shadow Ball into it, and maybe a Shadow Ball without Friend Guard. But for now, just going to go back out in the field. Wants to get rid of those speed drops so that you can just use, the Rage Fist already has increased base power. You don't necessarily need increased attack to finish a KO on Golden Go in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice that you can kind of leverage that so that you don't feel too bad about giving up that +4 attack that was wild to see on this Annihilate, but you don't need that recovery anymore from the Drain Punch, so we will see Alex finish off this Mousehold with the Make It Rain, and even better for Leonard here that this Golden Go just dropped its special attack.
Yeah, great to get the drop there, and you can see Alex's idea. He was swinging into the Dragonite, right? It was Grassy Glide plus Make It Rain. That's not going after Annihilate. Annihilate, the Fire type, would have taken that no problem. That is about swinging into Dragonite and trying to prevent Tailwind. He does prevent Tailwind, but only because Dragonite protects itself on that turn. And now Annihilate comes back in and doesn't need Tailwind. It's already going to be moving first, threatening a KO into Golden Go on the other side. The Golden Go Terrestrialization is still available, so Golden Go can maybe get out of it that way. Rage Fist has had its power increased. It's taken 2 hits, I believe, and so probably, no, 3 hits.
3,
the Blood Moon and 2 Icy Winds.
Yeah.
So 200 base power Rage Fist might not be enough damage to pick up a KO on Golden Go if it Terrestrializes.
I don't know. I feel like we've seen some crazy stuff out of these Annihilates. They are just so angry. Maybe we will see the survival there from the Golden Go, but then you have to wonder if the Life Orb and recoil this Golden Go would take would actually be enough to knock it out anyway and try to finish up the rest of that HP.
We're about to learn. Here comes the Terrestrialization. You don't do that. If you are protecting, looks like we're going to see some big damage.
I would hope so. That's one way to be able to bring us into a third game. But with the Grassy Glide first, does break that multi-scale on the Dragonite, but there's a little bit of reduced damage there. But the Rage Fist, this is what we're really excited about. With the one-hit knockout into the Golden Go, Terrestrialization just wasn't enough to save it. So it's just the Rillaboom left, and Leonard brings us into a game 3.
The Icy Winds were still the problem. It wasn't the Defiant anymore. It was simply the procs on Rage Fist to get up to 200 base power and threaten a ton of damage. Dragonite Tailwinds for good measure, but now easily going to finish this KO against Rillaboom. This game, this match feels like it hinges on all of these small moments, and this time Leonard got the big moment when he got that beat up into Ninetales, the Drain Punch at the same time into Ursaluna. Maybe a little bit overthought by Alex, but it turns over 2 KOs, and despite a valiant effort, Leonard able to close this out pretty safely.
Yeah, great stuff there as we're just going to see this kind of safely play out and also give some time for both Alex and Leonard to start to think about what that third game is going to look like. Both of them taking very different approaches in terms of that first turn, but still kind of leaning into the same offensive threats. That Ninetales and Ursaluna from Alex, and then Leonard being able to get a little bit more crafty with this use of Annihilate in the second game.
It feels like that first turn looks more volatile, but every time it happens, we see it again, anything could happen.
Third KO here for this Annihilate as that Rillaboom goes down to yet another Rage Fist. And game 3 will decide who will join Lorcy in the finals of the Milwaukee Regional Championships. Both Alex and Leonard hoping that this will be their first regional championship win, but one very decisive game to figure out who will be there.
and both players have to be running through every situation that's happened so far in the match. All the different ways that turn 1 can play out. Have to be deciding whether they want to try to walk back into that same turn 1 again, or if they think they see another avenue, someplace where maybe there's a little bit less risk. Both players have to be, you know, weary of, do I want to walk back into that? Do I want to put myself through that stress again?
There's some really wild stuff happening over in the GO stream, I think, if any of that got picked up. Maybe some really intense battles over there as well, as I know they are also inching ever closer to their finals, as we are starting to wrap up our action here at the Milwaukee Regional Championships over at the TCG as well. But for this match that we have on hand, do we even see any Pokemon adjustments outside of what we've seen so far? I feel like that's so difficult to say when Leonard has found success with these 4, and then Alex similarly with the 4 that he brought to the first game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see whether Leonard is interested in another Pokemon, maybe the Ursaluna, and then if even among the same Pokemon, if you would just lead differently, maybe try to avoid an Icy Wind instead of leaning into it with Defiant, try to lean on the speed from the Annihilate more. I expect Alex to continue to lead Ninetales. It's really the best way to defuse Dragonite if it were ever led, but if Leonard thinks that Ninetales might for some reason be adjusted away, then leading Dragonite could be really impactful.
Well, one more game to decide it. Who will enter into the finals of the Milwaukee Regional Championships? And both players very dead set on their strategies. But Alex is going to have the Golden Go out in front of Leonard's.
Yeah, an important change here to have the Golden Go out on the field first rather than the Ursaluna. That's a Pokemon that's, again, vulnerable to Golden Go. So you can Icy Wind, you can drop the Golden Go on Leonard's side down below the speed of your own Golden Go if you're Alex. But then what do? You can't KK with Make It Rain, you've got to worry about Follow Me, so it's not easy to click Shadow Ball in this situation. Meanwhile, you don't have any redirection of your own. So then are you Terastallizing? How are you keeping your own Golden Go safe? So even moving first isn't the protection that it needs in this moment.
And it's going to be really tough here too, because we're not going to see any Terastallization. So what if either of these Golden Go just decide to go for a Shadow Ball? Super Fang into the Ninetales. It hits. It's going to take it down to half of its HP. Icy Wind in response is going to retaliate too. Speed drops with the Make It Rain to follow it up. Both the Mousehold and the Golden Go will survive to the end of this turn, as we will see Leonard be able to fire off yet an additional attack. That is going to be the Ninetales KO, just like that. And one of the biggest problems for Leonard to have had to deal with in that first game is removed immediately.
Huge. Neither player wants to risk clicking Shadow Ball that whether a switch or a protect or a Terastallization is going to happen to defuse that. So both players use Make It Rain, but one Pokemon more vulnerable to Make It Rain than the other. The Ninetales goes down, and that means no Icy Wind for the rest of this set. So we talked about, do you lean on the natural speed advantage of your Annihilate and try to prevent Icy Wind instead of leaning on taking Icy Winds and getting Defiant Boost? That was ultimately how Leonard closed out Game 2, was getting Annihilate off the field and resetting those speed drops. No speed drops to worry about this time. Annihilate, when it hits the field, won't be getting Icy Winded. And Dragonite won't be getting Icy Winded. Both those Pokemon in the back love to see the Ninetales gone. Meanwhile, Rillaboom comes into the field. It can threaten a Grassy Glide into Mousehold. That opens up the Shadow Ball from Alex's Golden Go into Leonard's Golden Go. It's still speed dropped from the last turn. So for the moment, Alex has all of the offensive pressure, but he pays a huge cost for it, losing that Ninetales. Now Leonard just has to find a way to decide what to give up in this situation and how to reposition. Alex trying to catch Leonard repositioning on his own, find his own reposition. New Pokemon in the match, Sneasler, no Ursaluna.
Wow, so the Sneasler comes in, and with this Grassy Terrain active, does get a chance to consume this Grassy Seed, but it only boosts up the defense. That's not going to help against this Golden Go, who has opted for an attack across the way. So will this Rillaboom actually be able to do enough that can actually help to even up the score? With the Annihilate switching in here for the Mousehold, it's going to take this Grassy Glide, which actually does a pretty good amount of damage with the Shadow Ball in response. It's a nice damage trade for both of our players, but Sneasler actually gets taken to about half of its HP thanks to that Shadow Ball. Even at -1 from the Make It Rain from earlier.
Yeah, Sneasler loses about half its health, but maybe not too impactful. Is probably going to go down to much of anything else. Anyway, you can see the idea maybe from Leonard is that I want to switch Annihilate in because I don't want to give up Mousehold yet, and I would like to take a Grassy Glide, but I can't risk that gets called and Make It Rain or Shadow Ball hits into Annihilate, and so using the Shadow Ball of your own Golden Go is a way to cover for that. Because if Alex is anything other than use Shadow Ball into your Golden Go, then he's going to pay a high cost for it because the Shadow Ball went into that slot. Alex doesn't opt for any kind of damage with his own Golden Go, though. Brings Sneasler in instead, and so Another way that Annihilate finds its way on the field safely. Golden Go blasts through the turn safely, can now switch out into the back, get rid of that speed drop, get rid of that special attack drop, wait to fight in the future against Golden Go. Seems like a very strong last turn for Leonard.
Even better that you know that that Blood Moon or Saluna isn't waiting in the back. You can fire off these Rage Fists without any hesitation because there is no way for Alex to actually stop that unless you just outright KO this Annihilate. But it's starting to look, you already got one Rage Fist boost from the Grassy Glide from earlier, and this Mousehold comes in, gives over that Friend Guard just for a little bit, but even with the Terrestrialization, it's still gonna be tough. Annihilate is going to find a way to actually weave in this bulk up, so you get your own attack increase. You don't have to worry about that anymore, but the high horsepower to call it!
Oh
and
my
there's
God.
a knockout onto the Annihilate, but it was a critical hit! That defense boost otherwise would have saved this Annihilate from getting knocked out!
Man, it felt like Leonard was finding his avenue through this game. Bulk Up was going to reduce the high horsepower damage. Sneasler and Rillaboom weren't going to be able to do enough against the Terrifier Annihilate. It was going to have the natural speed advantage when Golden Go hit the field in the future. It felt like everything was set up for Annihilate to close out this match, but then the critical hit right through that defense boost, KOing Annihilate. You can see Leonard, he doesn't know where to go next. Such a massive swing, but this is not over. Golden Go and Dragonite have a chance to fight through this. You can get Scale Shot into either target. You can use speed advantage from Tailwind on Dragonite to KO these Pokemon, but you've got to reset. You've got to reset mentally and find that new path after the one that you thought you had was just ripped away from you with that critical hit.
Wow, brutal, 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 brutal. But at least for this Golden Go across from the Sneasler, you have just acrobatics as well as close combat. There is no throat chop, one of the more common moves we have seen on Sneasler that has been taken away on this particular set for Sword Stance setup. So maybe there is some hope for this Golden Go yet when it is going to be the fastest thing on the field.
Right.
Or one of the fastest things on the field outside of the Sneasler attacking it.
I don't think any KOs are threatened here. Rillaboom could break multi-skill, Sneasler could swing into Dragonite, but that shouldn't be a KO. Acrobatics plus Grassy Glide is maybe at a little bit higher risk to KO Golden Go, but probably misses that one as well because the Terrestrialization might have to be spent to close that out. And so if you can get a Scale Shot off to get Dragonite moving quickly and use that Scale Shot to pick up a KO against either Rillaboom or Sneasler along with some combined damage from Golden Go, there is absolutely still a path for Leonard to win this because then you have Tailwind from Dragonite to make sure that your own Golden Go moves first. But it starts here. It starts with getting good targeting this turn. Alex protecting the Sneasler. That's not where the Scale Shot's going to pick up a KO.
No, but the Make It Rain at least helps a little bit with this Rillaboom, but that Assault Vest is so scary for this Golden Go to have to deal with. Despite all that, it's still able to chunk this Rillaboom pretty significantly. But with the recoil damage this Golden Go is also going to take, it's going to be really close here with the Scale Shot to follow up onto the Rillaboom. It needs 5 hits to be able to secure this knockout. 4 doesn't look like it's going to be enough, so Leonard knows this one has to hit, and it does! He gets the 5 hits, the Rillaboom goes down, and it's just the Sneasler!
Enormous, gets the targeting right, doesn't Scale Shot into the Sneasler that's protecting itself, gets the Make It Rain plus Scale Shot double up to take the KO into Rillaboom, and gets the 5 hits to lock in that KO. Now has the speed advantage. You know, Sneasler will still be the first thing to move, but with multi-scale intact, with only resisted damage into the Golden Go, it shouldn't be able to take a KO. That means that you can go for a Tailwind that would either move Dragonite up past Sneasler or move Golden Go up past the Golden Go on the other side. It feels like this is just a few moves away. You can Tailwind and Shadow Ball, close it out with a Scale Shot in the future. There's still lots of risks though. You can hit into multi-protects. You can miss Scale Shots. There are paths back for either side. This is what a stressful situation. Just a couple turns left in a game to decide who makes it into the finals of this regional championship. Emotions have to already be running so high after you have that devastating critical hit. One side all of a sudden has this moment of, I think I can win. One side has it ripped away, and now things are swinging back the other way so quickly.
Alex still has Terrestrialization, and it's going to be that Flying Terra on the Sneasler. Acrobatics will now be boosted, but I'm also taking a look at, will the Sneasler actually be able to make it through any of these incoming attacks? But first up, Sneasler, with this boosted Acrobatics, goes into the Dragonite and actually chips it down to about a third. But with the Dragonite using the Tailwind, this is going to allow Leonard to own Golden Go to get the outspeed, and with the next Make It Rain, is hoping to get the knockout, but it's going to be a miss on both the Sneasler and the Golden Go. You already dropped your special attack. You're going to drop it again, so you're now down 2 stages. And with a Shadow Ball to respond here from Alex, it's a knockout into Leonard's Golden Go. The Dragonite has to close it out by itself, and it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Make It Rain targeting doesn't pick up either KO, and now Dragonite with only single targeting moves. It doesn't feel like there's a path back here. It seems like Life Orb Shadow Ball probably is enough damage into Dragonite, but that's the thing you probably have to aim for. But also, if you Scale Shot into a Protect, you immediately lose. You need 2 Scale Shots to close this out.
Well, 1 Scale Shot is going to be good right now for the Golden Go, and the Sneasler isn't going to Protect, so it actually just gets a chance to get some damage off here.
Yeah, that should be a KO. It's going to be the KO. He's making the prediction that the Sneasler going to protect, but it did not protect. It's going to swing out with Acrobatics. Now this is -2 defense Dragonite. No multi-scale. This is plenty of damage.
The Sneasler is just going to make sure that it can get the final KO now. Send Alex on to the finals to face off against Lorcy because Dragonite's defense falls again. Even though it's going to have the speed advantage on the next turn, the Sneasler has it now. And with the Acrobatics into the Dragonite, Aran moves on to the finals.
Wow, what a tense match. It felt like Leonard had it. It felt like the Annihilate was going to be able to close it out, and then the devastating critical hit. And then it felt like he was finding the avenues back. He got the first targeting right, got the Rillaboom KO, but there were still more steps.